Hey guys, in today's video we're going to show you a tutorial using Adobe After Effects on how to make this super simple but clean looking custom liquid transition. At the end of this video, if you enjoyed or found it at all helpful, please consider liking or maybe even subscribing to our channel for more content. Enzo will be teaching you how to do this, so I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into the tutorial.
Alright, so let's start. So what you first want to do is make a new composition and make sure the width is 1920 and the height is 1080, and the duration you can set it to whatever you want, but for this tutorial I'm going to set it to 10 and click OK. And then what you want to do is make a new composition, and this time you want to change the width to 400 and the height to 300, and make sure this is unchecked, because if you check it then it will mess up whatever you put here. And then click OK. And now you want to go to the composition that's 400 by 300 and add text. So I'm just going to add our channel name, which is Bayjger X2. And what you want to do is you can shrink this down a bit. I think right here should be good. And you can go to align horizontally, and align vertically. So now you have this little section, or this little part right here. And then you want to go to your main composition and drag in your second composition into the main composition. So once you've dragged it in, you want to drag this back, and now it should start looking like this. And now what you want to do is you want to go to Effects and Presets and search Motion Tile, and you want to drag that on to this layer right here. And now you can set the output width to around 2000, as well as the output height to around 2000. That should be enough. And then what you want to do is you want to rotate this by clicking R on your keyboard and rotate it to around -10, so that it will start looking like this. So now what you're going to want to do is click right here and zoom out a little bit so you can see the entire screen right here, and go to the very first keyframe and click P on your keyboard so that you can see the position keyframe. Set a keyframe at the very beginning and set a keyframe to wherever you want. So actually set it to the end, set a keyframe at the end, and go back to your first keyframe, and you want to drag this little square right here all the way down to about right here, and go to the end and drag it around right here. So now you'll have something looking like this. So now what you want to do is you want to select the ellipse tool and make sure you're not selecting the comp, and you want to drag over the background and make sure that the ellipse tool or the circle is bigger than the entire screen. And you can set the fill to whatever you want, whatever color you want the transition to be. For me, I think I'm going to leave it at this. And now what you want to do is you want to drop down, or click this little drop down menu on the shape layer, and you want to keyframe it at the beginning for the position. So keyframe the position, the beginning, and go to around 7 seconds and keyframe it again. And then you want to go to the beginning and change the position. Oh, sorry, wrong position. Change the position so that's all the way off the screen. So keep dragging it. Around there is good. So now you have this little thing right here where it slides in, and you can edit the graph for this. You want to select the keyframes of your shape layer, hit F9 and go into the graph, and make sure you are editing the speed graph and not the value graph. And then you want to highlight these right here so that these yellow dots show up, and while holding shift you want to drag the yellow dot on the right all the way to right here, and do the same with this one, but drag it back like right here. And now if you get go out of the graph, and now is a lot smoother, and you can play around with the keyframes. Like, I feel like it's a little too slow, so if I drag this right here, still too slow, maybe around 1.5 seconds. Boom, there you have your little circle going across the screen. So now what you want to do is you want to go to Effects and Presets and search Turbulent Displace. It's Turbulent Displace, and you want to drag that onto the shape layer, and you want to go back to where you can see the circle halfway, and you can change the amount and size to whatever you want, whatever you think looks good. But for me, I'll set the amount to around 60, and then I'll also change the size to around 220. So now it should start looking a lot more liquidy, like this. You want to move your composition above the shape layer so that the text is above, and now it's going to start looking like this. Now what you want to do is type Gaussian blur and drag that onto your composition. Make sure it's not on the shape layer, and make sure you drag it onto the text composition. And then what you want to do is set the blurriness to around 9, so your text should start to be a little more blurry. It should look like this. So now what you want to do is you want to go frame by frame to the first frame where the circle covers the entire screen. So for me, it's around right here, and split the clip. And you can delete this. And now what you want to do is you can right click right here and click New, Solid, name it whatever you want. I'll just name mine background. And make sure that the color is the same as your background color. So if you go right here, you can use this little eyedrop tool and pick the background. For me, it's already default, so I'm just gonna set it to that. And then go to the end of the shape layer clip, and you want to split the background and delete the extra access. So now it should be like this, but it's going to cover the entire screen. So you want to drag the background layer under here. So now it looks like this. Actually, you might want to drag it above the shape layer. Yeah, above the shape layer. And then what you want to do is, while holding Shift, select your background layer and your shape layer. And you want to right click and click Pre-Compose. And you can name this whatever you want. You can leave it as Pre-Comp 1. And make sure not to select any of these or change any of these. And then you want to click OK. And then you want to move your text composition, the one that has your text, under the pre-comp so that it starts looking like this. And then what you want to do is make sure that you click Toggle Switches / Modes. It's already on for me, so then over here you can see this. You want to set this to Alpha Matte and your composition. So Alpha Matte, I'll select that. And now it should start looking like this. You're not going to be able to see the text on the right side. And then what you want to do is you want to select your composition that has the animation and hit Control D to duplicate it. And then you want to drag the one you just duplicated to the bottom layer and click the eyeball. So now you have this. So now what you want to do is you want to import your logo. So I will be back when I've imported my logo. And now while you're selecting your logo, you want to create a new ellipse tool and drag it like this. It might be a little too big, so you might have to adjust it. And while doing it, hold Shift so that the circle is even. And then what you want to do is you can move this and change it to however you like it. And I think that this should be good. And you can also shrink the circle or the ellipse tool You can shrink that as well if you want. So I'll do that, shrink it down to around right there, or however big you want your logo to be. I think for me that should be good. And as you can see, it doesn't look like a perfect circle yet. Like, you can see these little edges. So what you want to do is you can move this around and make sure it's perfect. Okay. So if you want to make the circle smaller so that you don't see these little sharp edges right here, you want to open up the mask. Sorry. You want to drop down the mask, and where it says mask expansion, you want to select that and change it to where you want it. So I think that looks good. And you can also mess around with all of these, but I'm not going to do that in this tutorial. So now you can close down the mask. So now you have something looking like this. And then you want to cut where you want your mask animation or your logo animation to start. So I think I want it to start around right here. And then what you want to do is you want to open up this, and you want to go to transform and keyframe the rotation, scale, and position at the beginning. So now what you want to do is you can copy these keyframes or just move forward to where you want the animation to end. For me, I think 2 seconds, and you can always adjust this later. So 2 seconds, and then keyframe all of this again. And you want to go to the beginning keyframes, and you want to change it to how you like. So I'll change the rotation a little bit to like that. And then you can change the scale as well, but I'm going to do that after because I want to see what I'm doing. And the position, you want to drag this all the way down to where you can't see it. And then before you do that, actually, you want to shrink this down a bit. And then you want to drag that down. And then you can make this 0. So now it kind of has this little pop-up animation. And you can edit the graph, so highlight all of your keyframes, hit F9, go to the graph, make sure you're editing the speed graph, highlight these so these yellow things pop up, and you want to, while holding shift, drag that right there. So now, you go out, it should look like this. And I think I want mine to be a little bit faster, so I'll drag it to 1.5 around right there, see how that looks. And I think that already looks pretty clean, so I'm going to keep it like that. So now what you want to do is you want to double click the layer that you pre-composed, or the composition that you pre-composed, and you want to double click that, and as you can see you have the background and shape layer. And then what you want to do is you want to delete the solid layer, or the background that you chose, delete it. And then you want to extend the shape layer duration around 5 more seconds. So mine was around like 1 second, so I'll change it to 6 seconds. So what you want to do is go to where you want your animation to go out. So I'll do 2.5 seconds, or no, sorry, 4 seconds. You can always change that later. So now you want to copy the second keyframe, Control C, and go to where you want the animation to go out, and hit Control V to paste your keyframe. And then you can go slightly forward. So I'll go around right here. And then copy the first keyframe. And paste it so that it goes out. So now you have something looking like this, and it stays on screen and goes out. And maybe you want to drag that back a little bit so it's a bit faster. Maybe even a bit more. And I think that's good. And it's the graph. Make sure to edit the graph, and while holding shift, go to this one and drag this back like that, and So now it will be looking a lot cleaner when it goes out. And now what you can do is you can go back to your main composition. So I'll go back to the composition 1. So then you want to go where you want your animation to go out. I think I want it to go out like right here. Copy these keyframes and paste it right here, and that should be good. Remember, you can play around with the graphs, so I think that this might be a little too slow, so I'm just gonna edit it. Make it like that. Maybe a little bit longer. So now you have this, and it looks really, really nice. And you should be pretty much done with your animation effect, and you can go and edit the color and the timing with it if you want and make it a little bit different. But for me, this already looks pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the transition.